Now at 11, a passenger describes the moments his plane slid off the runway in Rochester. And the driver and boyfriend's testimony in the trial in the murder of Kaylin Gillis, revealing more about what was going on inside the car. A possible strike at Anheuser-Busch, a brewing conflict from the union's perspective, what it means for the Baldwinsville area plant. Now at 11, a new mayor with new plans for Oswego, how Micron plays a big part. A legal battle over a closed ski resort, why the Attorney General wants to force Toggenburg to reopen. Plus, she grew up in here, now she's reaching for the stars, a Syracuse astronaut with a message for young girls like her before she heads off to space. And no, that's not snow. We learn what caused this foamy mess down south. Well, new video tonight. Scary moments for passengers at Rochester's airport tonight. A plane skidded off the runway as it landed in these snowy weather conditions.
And entire Piedmont 5811, we just slid right off the taxiway. 5811 Roger, and there'll be people coming out in a second.
50 passengers, 3 crew members on board when the American Airlines jet slid off the runway. It veered into some snowy grass. Passengers waited for roughly an hour before stairs were kind of put together so they could safely get off the aircraft. Mike Trickey, a passenger on board, describes the feeling from the plane.
I could feel anyways, like a little bit of a slide. And I'm thinking about, well, maybe that's just, the brakes. And, well, no, that was just the wheels sliding off the runway and into the grass. And it was very rocky and jolty for probably maybe a second or two until we came to a full stop.
Turned out no one was injured. The plane was taken out of service to get a full inspection. Meteorologist Peter Hall joins us now with this weather alert. Peter, that's something to see. We take for granted our airports are ready to go in upstate New York, particularly with snowy weather.
Well, that's true. We're going to have to keep an eye on things as some of the snow, which really has been west and north of Syracuse most of the time, starts making more of an impact, especially this weekend.
Tonight with breaking news, we're waiting on police to reveal new details on a major response to the outer Strathmore neighborhood of Syracuse tonight. Authorities from Syracuse Police, the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office, and Syracuse Fire were all on the scene on Hubbell Avenue tonight. The initial calls to 911 indicated a car had gone into a house. We don't know what led up to that moment just yet. One person on the scene was taken into custody tonight. We'll continue to follow this and bring you new details over the next half hour. Well, the Uvalde school massacre could have been stopped sooner. That's what the Justice Department concludes in a nearly 600-page critical incident report now being made public. It calls the police response a significant failure. Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy. You're watching NBC3 News at 11. Nearly 20 months after the Robb Elementary School shooting that left 19 students, 2 teachers dead, federal officials say police who responded to the active shooter, quote, demonstrated no urgency and didn't even treat it like an active shooter situation. The DOJ blames failed communication, failed leadership, inadequate technology, and inadequate training.
It's hard enough waking up every day and continuing to walk out on these streets and walk to an HEB or drive to an HEB and see a cop that was standing there while our babies were murdered and bleeding out.
I hope that the failures end today and that local officials do what wasn't done that day.
Well, tonight, I'm Morgan Scott has new perspective on this report from a couple of local experts that specialize in protecting schools from shootings. She joins us now with more. Morgan? Thank you, Peter. In tonight's State of the City address, Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh promised 2,500 new quality housing units before he leaves office in 2 years. Tonight, Mayor Walsh touched on the Resurgent Neighborhoods initiatives. That initiative started in 2020 with the goal to create 200 new affordable housing units scattered throughout the city. The mayor says half those units are already built or under construction. He also announced a partnership with Housing Visions, which will add more than 50 new housing units throughout the city's south and west sides.
Our region is embarking on an era of opportunity not seen here in more than half a century, if ever.
Meantime, demolition starts this year at the former Syracuse Developmental Center, which will pave the way for more than 500 units of mixed-income housing. State of City did not quite go as planned throughout. The mayor experienced several interruptions throughout his briefing.
Okay. Where were we? All right. How are we feeling, fam? We all right? We good? All right.
Demonstrators voiced concerns about the city's response to the war in Israel. They accused Mayor Walsh and the city of not doing enough to address the humanitarian crisis. The mayor responded to the demonstrators saying, quote, "The death of all people, including those in Palestine and Israel, is unacceptable." Now at 11, a new mayor with new plans for Oswego, how Micron plays a big part. A legal battle over a closed ski resort, why the Attorney General wants to force Toggenburg to reopen. Plus, she grew up in here, now she's reaching for the stars, a Syracuse astronaut with a message for young girls like her before she heads off to space.
This is NBC3 News at 11, winner of the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence.
Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy. You're watching NBC3 News at 11. The city of Oswego has a new mayor as Rob Corradino was elected last fall. Now almost a month on the job, he's looking to help his community capitalize on Micron coming to the central New York region. Our Dale Ostrander reports tonight.
The last 8 years have been filled with constant change for neighbors in the city of Oswego. New housing, modern updates to piers and parks, as well as an indoor water park are just some of the changes that have come to the city on Lake Ontario. Those changes were all under former mayor Billy Barlow. But for new mayor Rob Corradino, he thinks he is the right person to continue the progress.
There's no doubt that following Mayor Barlow is a tall task, I have to be honest. But I think I'm up to the task. I know I'm up to the task. Again, with 8 years on the city council and that I was with Mayor Barlow all 8 years, I'm up to the task of doing this job.
While his focus will be to continue this progress, a big area of focus will also be Micron coming to central New York.
A situation where, what do you do first? I mean, we're all anticipating Micron coming in the area, so you have to build all the infrastructure. Those developers who see the need should be building outside the city, and anything that we can build in the inside the city limits, we will.
Building businesses that will be a necessity to the increase in populations like daycares and housing are a focal point of many municipalities in central New York. But Corradino knows Oswego does not have land to make more housing and needs to make the most of people living close to the city.
We don't have 20 or 30 acres of city land that we can develop housing development in. What that tells me is that any housing development, most of it will be probably outside the city. Because we're the closest city, we're certainly going to earn some benefits.
I'm Dale Ostrander reporting.
Now, Mayor Corradino is looking for the surrounding towns of, say, Scriba, Minetto, and Oswego to develop housing for people who may not want to live in the Clay area, but instead live closer to the lake, maybe a more rural area, still just a short drive from Micron to the city of Oswego. Live look tonight in the village of North Syracuse. This is Brewerton Road, Route 11. You can see still in the sky that heavy air is out there. A foggy evening for much of central New York. We do have a weather alert because of it. Meteorologist Peter Hall joins us tonight to explain. Peter?
Yeah, dense fog advisory is in effect for most of central and southern New York. And while, yes, these are the official counties, really anywhere in our area, just be aware of variable visibility. And even in one spot, the visibility can change. Case in point, Skaneateles actually doing better right now when they were down to like a 1/16 of a mile earlier. So, yes, there's still some fog in the area. If you're driving around during the overnight, be aware of that. If you were turning in earlier, besides the fog, we had said, look, once we get past midnight, we're going to see some rain. And, well, you see the front edge of this at around just after 11 o'clock. So this is coming right at us and already probably starting at midnight for Ithaca and Penn Yan and Marathon and then moving into central New York. So the rain will develop southwest at midnight and then into the rest of central New York. It'll be rather wet late tonight through early tomorrow morning. Temperatures at least go up a little, 39. Tricky temperatures tomorrow. I'm going to go 49. But there will be spots that don't get out of the 30s, spots in the 40s, and briefly spots in the 50s, but dropping into the upper 30s to near 40 to finish the day. Stanley Loft Skywatch, another vantage point. And since this is at the top of a building, you can really see that kind of almost looks like the earth there, the curvature. That's that fog, low cloud bank right over the city. And boy, that visibility does change depending on where you're driving. New information about what happens next. Any winter in the forecast? We'll check next.
Thank you, Peter. The suspect accused of shooting a pregnant woman in Syracuse has pleaded not guilty to second-degree attempted murder. Last month, 26-year-old Apriona Harris was shot in the head near the rescue mission of Syracuse. She was taken off life support at the hospital. Her baby boy was delivered safely. Now we're awaiting a potentially groundbreaking DNA test that would tell us whether the boy's father is also Apriona's accused killer. The suspect's name, 34-year-old David Kirby III. He's undergoing a psychological exam to see if he's competent to stand trial. Kirby was previously arrested in 2017 for stabbing his sister and her boyfriend. Alabama is the first state to execute a person using nitrogen gas. Kenneth Smith was put to death tonight using the controversial method. His spiritual advisor was inside the chamber with him. Smith chose the method of execution after administrators failed several times to find a vein to set an IV line for a lethal injection nearly 2 years ago. Nitrogen gas kills by causing a form of asphyxiation or suffocation. Media witnesses to the execution noted Smith was shaking during the beginning of the process. A Wayne County woman's behind bars for calling the police 256 times. 52-year-old Michelle Benedict of Clyde faces stalking charges. Deputies say she was attempting to speak to one of the officers at the Seneca Falls Police Department. She had no police matter to report. Benedict was taken to the Wayne County Jail. A jury is expected to hear closing arguments tomorrow morning in a defamation trial involving Donald Trump. The former president left a New York City courtroom after briefly testifying in his own defense. During his minutes-long testimony, Trump said he stood by his denial of E. Jean Carroll's sexual assault accusation. When asked if he said the statements to hurt Carroll, Trump said, quote, "No, I just wanted to defend myself, my family, and frankly, the presidency." However, the judge cut off Trump as he was responding to a question about whether he actually viewed the allegation as a false accusation. Congressman Brandon Williams is officially supporting Trump in his bid for president. In a statement on X, Williams says, quote, "We can't endure 4 more years of progressive fantasies. We need a Republican in the White House." He also vocalized his support for Elise Stefanik as Trump's possible running mate, though those plans certainly have not been announced as of yet. Well, tonight the standoff between the Biden administration and the governor of Texas rages on over how to best secure the border, as some Democrats want the president to seize control of the Texas National Guard. Christine Frizzell reports.
The standoff at the southern border not letting up. Instead of allowing the federal government to cut through the razor wire in Eagle Pass, the state of Texas is installing more. In a statement, Governor Greg Abbott declaring the federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states.
The authors of the Constitution knew there would be times when the federal government would not live up to its duty. And so they empowered states in Article 1, Section 10, the right of self-defense.
This despite the U.S. Supreme Court siding with the Biden administration, which argued it alone has the federal authority to secure the border and to remove the razor wire as it sees fit, which the White House says is necessary.
It's unfortunate that there is a governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, who has politicized this issue of what's happening on the border. And it's not making people's lives safer. It's actually making it harder for law enforcement at the border to do their job.
This battle between the state and federal government has been unfolding as the federal government has been trying to take action, with bipartisan legislation in the Senate nearing completion, but now facing a new hurdle, with more and more Republicans publicly opposing it.
This supplemental bill is a kamikaze plane in a box canyon with no exit, headed for a train wreck.
Others blame an empowered Donald Trump for trying to tank the deal.
The border is a very important issue for Donald Trump, and the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling.
As the drama deepens in Texas, more and more evidence of the impact nationwide, including more than 2,000 miles away at Boston's Logan Airport, where more than 100 migrants are said to be taking shelter. Other options and resources running out. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
New information on the food bank telethon that we've been holding throughout the day. The numbers are in. Another successful night. NBC3 partnered with the food bank to combat hunger in our region. The total raised this year, more than $70,000. All proceeds go directly to the food bank. At least 140,000 people face food insecurity in the food bank's 11-county service area. We took the time to look behind the scenes about the food bank telethon. Megan Coleman was there.
Well, what a night here at our Help Fight Hunger Telethon benefiting the Food Bank of Central New York. Once again this year, we teamed up with CX Tech and Cumulus Media to help local families and make sure that no one in our community knows food insecurity. Karen Belcher is the Executive Director of the Food Bank of Central New York. I know your heart is really full tonight.
It is. The community came out strong again. The support we get every year is just amazing, and this year was no different than we've seen in the past. So we just need to say thank you. Thank you for helping us to make sure that families have nutritious, healthy meals to feed their families.
Yeah, and these are local families. These dollars will go right back into our community. For people who are wondering how those dollars are used, how they're spent, what can you tell them?
It's really helping to provide the food that we're providing into the community. So it's purchasing that food, it's making sure that we're able to transport it safely and effectively, and it's making sure that we're doing this every day. So we're purchasing the food and getting it right back out into the community as soon as those dollars hit the account.
Yeah, we know that during COVID, during the pandemic, we saw a huge spike in the need. Where are we today?
Unfortunately, I wish I could say that that's down, but we're back at that pandemic level. The first 6 months of this fiscal year, we've seen distribution of 11,232,000 pounds, and that's right at the same level we were during 2020, and that's scary and it's unfortunate. People are having to make choices, and they're taking that food budget line and not using it. They're using it to pay something else.
Well, the hope here is that we've made a difference, that made people's lives a little bit easier. Karen, thank you to you and your team for all you do. Certainly, you could still donate. Go to our website at cnycentral.com. We'll have a link to get you to the Food Bank of Central New York. But all in all, another successful year here at our annual telethon. Back to you.
Thank you to everybody involved, Megan. Thank you. Coming up on NBC3 News at 11, legal battles over a closed ski resort. Why the Attorney General wants to force a sale of Toggenburg so it can reopen. And meteorologist Peter Hall returns to let us know, with that rain on our doorstep, what can you expect when you're getting up in the morning? Plus, a rare dynamic between two high school bowling teams, as an athlete from one school bowls his way to a milestone to the cheers from the other school.